Welcome to another episode of the Arukah Holistic Podcast. I'm your host, Mayim Vega, and today I have the privilege of speaking with Dr. Keith Ellis, a medical chemist, professor, and the founder of Science-Driven Supplements. Dr. Ellis has dedicated his career to researching and developing natural solutions for health challenges, and today we're going to dive into his groundbreaking work on long COVID recovery. Dr. Ellis combines his expertise in medicinal chemistry, pharmacology, and natural products to address the biological mechanisms of long COVID. And he has developed a custom formulated supplement, CircuGuard, that helps people recover from long COVID microclots. In this episode, we'll explore the science behind this research, the effectiveness of his solutions, and how they're offering accessible and affordable recovery options for long COVID patients right now. Dr. Ellis's passion for both science and entrepreneurship has led him to create products that provide real help for those struggling with long COVID, and he's also dedicated to advancing cancer research. This conversation is a must listen for anyone interested in the science of healing, natural products, and overcoming the long-term effects of illness, especially COVID. Hello and welcome, Keith.
Hi, how you doing?
Great, thank you. Well, it certainly is very much a privilege to speak to you about this topic. I think you and I have a lot of views in common, maybe not everything, but certainly we have a lot of important things to discuss. I'd like to begin, if you don't mind, by just defining, if you would, long COVID.
Sure. So long COVID is, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a nebulous answer because it's a kind of what we think of as a syndrome that has a constellation of symptoms, but there's not like a regular clinical definition and there's no clinical test for it. So long COVID is a set of symptoms that occur anywhere from 3 to 6 months after you have an acute COVID infection. They persist past that point. And the symptoms are, there's generally ones that most people experience, and then there's ones that some people have them and some people don't. One of the symptoms that most people get are fatigue, what they typically call brain fog. So just not being able to think clearly, not be able to mentally process. It's thought to be caused by neuroinflammation. There's typically some kind of cardiac symptoms involved. A lot of people will experience shortness of breath. They'll experience what's called POTS, which is when you get dizzy when you stand up or change positions. People can have a lot of pain and soreness in their muscles and in their joints. Some people have that, not everybody does. And then there's things like what they call dysautonomia, which is kind of dysfunction in controlling your nervous system over time. So there's and a lot of people can also have GI upset, what they call gut dysbiosis, where there's a real sensitivity to being able to eat, and symptoms kind of more like IBS, just a general GI irritation that persists and doesn't go away. So it's a multi-system type syndrome where people can suffer from a large variety of symptoms. There's a few that tend to be in common, but a lot of people with long COVID, they'll have some things in common, but then there's things that are unique about how it presents in every person.
I'd also like to note that a lot of those symptoms happen after naturally acquiring COVID, but they can also happen after the COVID vaccine. And some of those symptoms also happen after other types of vaccines, not necessarily just the COVID vaccine. How about microclotting? Because you did mention that as well.
Yeah, so microclots are one of the pathophysiologies, one of the mechanistic causes that that people have actually explored, and seems to be one of the driving factors behind long COVID. So what seems to happen in people is after they have the acute phase COVID infection, they typically will get maybe 80% better, maybe not completely, and then some symptoms persist. They get mostly better, but then, 3 to 6 months after an acute COVID infection, they see this downturn again. And it's the fatigue, the brain fog, cardiac symptoms, a lot of different things. Um, the so microclots are one of the molecular level mechanisms that's thought to potentially be causative for long COVID. And there's a lot of research and studies going on into all kinds of things when it comes to long COVID. But I like looking at what's a cause versus what's an effect. And microclots, there's decent data showing that they are a cause. And basically, these microclots are unnatural clots that form as a result from viral proteins, particularly the viral spike protein, interacting with and causing misfolding in the proteins that normally cause clots in the body. And these microclots accumulate, they cause circulatory issues, and then they can cause a lot of these downstream issues, particularly fatigue, brain fog, some of the cardiac issues, the muscle pain, joint stiffness. A lot of those symptoms can be attributed as downstream effects of these abnormal microclots that form and are in circulation and cause all kinds of problems because they're unnatural, right? And they're functioning in ways that the body is not used to and causing disruption in other systems of the body.
Okay. And one more thing also is what about a lot of people frequently lose their sense of taste and
Mhm.
smell, or one or the
Yep.
other?
So those two symptoms are usually associated with an acute COVID infection. I have run across some people with long COVID where those persist, but a lot of times those particular to the loss of taste and smell tend to resolve after an acute COVID infection, and then they're not typically long COVID symptoms. But again, some people have them, and the thinking with those at this point is they're kind of neurological issues, right? They're an interference somehow of proper functioning of the nerves involved in taste and smell. There isn't any data showing exactly what causes those at the molecular level, though.
Okay, thank you. There's a lot that we don't know yet.
Yeah, there
um,
is.
I was wondering now, can you tell me more about what you do as a scientist and a
Mhm.
medical chemist, and also how you how you got started working with long COVID?
Sure. So I'm a medicinal chemist, kind of. My real background's more on the synthesis side. My PhD was in natural product total synthesis, where we made natural products that were identified from nature. And when I at the very beginning of my career, when I moved into medicinal chemistry, I was mainly taking natural products as kind of the starting molecule to try and develop new therapeutics. So medicinal chemistry in general is kind of the segment of chemistry that does what we think of as drug discovery, right? We're the chemists that go in the lab and we're looking at biological targets and we're saying, okay, where can we find new molecules, small molecules that we can develop into drugs that somehow modulate a biological target. And I've spent most of my career in what I think of as early stage lead discovery. So from that initial small molecule hit through optimizing that in what we call lead optimization into drug candidates is kind of what I have done for my career in research, mainly in oncology and in antibacterials. So the way this kind of started with me for long COVID was a normal project for me in early 2023. It had been a while. Long COVID was around. It was starting to really become kind of a more prominent issue. And I said, well, let's go into literature and let's see. A lot of time, a lot of money was going into doing research on COVID and even on long COVID. A lot of papers getting published, a lot of grants going out. I said, well, okay, let me go into the literature because in order for me to do my job, I have to know a certain amount of biology about the disease and about molecular targets to find something interesting to do. So I went and did what I would normally do starting on a new project and went looking for molecular mechanisms that were causing long COVID, what potential molecular targets were. And it was mixed results. Kind of shockingly, there wasn't a whole lot out there at the molecular level about long COVID. Like there was insufficient scientific information to start what I think of as a normal drug discovery campaign. It's just wasn't out there yet. So I went so knowing that and understanding that, and also understanding that a normal drug discovery campaign, when you're starting at that point, it's like 10 to 15 years to develop a new drug, right? That's a long time for people with long COVID to wait and to suffer until they could have a drug. So knowing all that, I went back to the literature and I said, okay, well, what do we know now, and what's something that we can that's actionable right now that we can do something with. And that's when I found kind of the microclots hypothesis and the great work that the scientists that are working on that have done, and really doing some great research showing how microclots are involved in long COVID. And they actually produced a study where they took a small number of patients, it was about 90 patients, and used a pharmaceutical cocktail on them to try to treat the microclots, and it actually resolved the long COVID for about 80% of the patients in that study. So, and it was a small study. It was published as a preprint. It hasn't been peer reviewed published yet. Why, I'm not sure, but that's a whole different topic. But I looked at that and I said, well, that's a great starting point. And that's kind of how I got into what I did, which was a little bit different of approach than what we normally do.
Well, thank you for doing what you do. So you normally work um, on research that has to do with cancer and antibiotics, but
Mhm.
because COVID, you not really pivoted. You still do the other things,
Yep.
but okay,
Yep.
great. So I'd like to know now, how is your work on long COVID different from other people and what they're doing? And what do you
So,
think also, what are the best
mhm.
ways that people with long COVID um, can do to recover?
Okay. So let's start with what most people are doing. When you go into the scientific literature, science is doing, and the medical establishment do the research that we always do, which is good. It's super high quality. It's robust. It asks a lot of interesting questions and answers them. The the one downside of doing it that way is it's a really slow process. Um, and again, I started working on this in early 2023, almost 2 years ago. When I go in the literature, I'm still not finding the molecular targets and the information I need on the biology to actually do normal drug discovery. We still haven't gotten there yet. And I'm not sure when we're going to be able to. So the scientific community and the medical establishment are focused on doing kind of business as usual with long COVID. They're studying the symptoms, they're studying the what's causing the symptoms on kind of a system by system basis, but very few people are actually really asking the questions of what are the mechanisms that are causing long COVID, and how can we actually take action to do something about them um, at all, let alone do something quickly. And that's when I decided that I wanted to do something a little bit different than I normally do. So I took this information that was in the literature, and so this small trial that was done by these scientists, they used something called triple anticoagulant therapy, and it's a cocktail of three pharmaceutical drugs. And it seems to work. It really helps people recover. There's a couple issues with it though. One, because it's three anticoagulants together, has a really high risk of the side effect of significant bleeding, right? Because you're giving somebody three separate anticoagulants. It really is kind of a higher risk therapy. So the physicians are actually understandably reluctant to prescribe it. I get that, right? It's not the safest thing in the world. It requires continuous monitoring. A lot of physicians just aren't willing to prescribe it. Okay, fine. So the issue then is the patients aren't able to really get it. They know about it. There was When I was talking to a lot of people with long COVID, there was a lot of frustration in the community that this seems to be out there, but they couldn't take it. And what they really needed was an accessible version that they didn't need a prescription for a doctor, that was less powerful and didn't have these side effects. So with my background as a medicinal chemist, and kind of having that kind of the old school training that I have of starting with natural products and then developing pharmaceutical drugs, what I decided to do was reverse the process that I typically would use. So I started with the pharmaceutical drugs and used the mechanisms of action that are known of the pharmaceutical drugs, and went and found natural ingredients that actually have the same mechanisms of action and do the same things. The natural products are not as potent, they're safer, and because they're natural ingredients, you can formulate them into an over-the-counter supplement that you don't need a doctor's prescription for. And that's actually what I did. I did the research, figured out how to translate the pharmaceutical cocktail into an OTC supplement, and that's when I formed my company and actually manufactured it, because I wanted to get it in the hands of people with long COVID and see if it worked. And it does. It actually really does help people recover, helps with the brain fog, helps with the fatigue, helps with the dysautonomia even, and some of the cardiac systems. This is what I hear back from my audience and my customers, is it really does help people. And it's not a cure for long COVID, right? It's not even what I would really call a therapy, right? Because it's not a prescription. It's an over-the-counter supplement. But what it does do is I think it helps alleviate some people's symptoms and helps make them more functional, and really improves quality of life for people with long COVID. And the other things that are out there for people with long COVID are kind of one of two or three things. They are either repurposing a pharmaceutical drug that was developed for something else, like people that are taking low dose naltrexone, right? Or they are repurposing an over the counter product that, again, was kind of designed for something else. That's people taking like histamine if they have MCAS, or some of the other things, some of the other OTC supplements that people are taking. There's some thought, I think, behind how they're working mechanistically to help people with long COVID, but they weren't really designed based on what we know about the molecular mechanisms of long COVID. So it's repurposing drugs, repurposing OTC, or people just trying kind of everything we know that has general antiviral effects or helps with symptoms, that without really thinking through the mechanisms. And what I'm have done, and why my product CircuGuard is different, is I custom formulated it specifically to help people with long COVID based on known mechanisms and science behind what's thought to be one of the causes of long COVID.
Very interesting that you said that it's not a cure, it just helps alleviate the symptoms. I would argue that most drugs are not a cure for the diseases that they treat. They are also only there to alleviate symptoms. Maybe the problem is because they are not natural and to some degree toxic to our bodies. They cause other issues, which are often worse than the original issue or disease or symptom that people take them for. So, I mean, there's no quote unquote cure for cancer according to modern medicine, but according to holistic healing, there are many cures. And the true healer of almost every issue that we can face is our own immune systems. And everything that we take, from supplements to pharmaceuticals to nutrition, and also our lifestyles and even our mindset, can affect our immune system's ability to truly heal ourselves or not.
No, you're absolutely right, and I'm right with you that even when you're looking at pharmaceuticals, and I always hold this opinion. I think it's probably a minority opinion in science, but yes, is anything you're taking, pharmaceutical or not, is it actually addressing symptoms, or is it actually addressing an underlying cause, right? And that's that kind of cause and effect thing that I get to, because And a lot of times, if you can do something to address an underlying cause and help the body heal itself and help it recover, that's oftentimes something that will really help people. And that's actually what CircuGuard really does for long COVID is it helps cut down on the production of microclots so that the body is able to naturally clear the ones that are already present. And then that's how people are actually recovering from long COVID when they take it.
Okay, excellent. So, this is your main solution for long COVID, right? It's the CircuGuard. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep. This is I have a few others that are still in the kind of research and development phase, but this is the one that we have available right now, and one that really does seem to be helping people because at the end of the day, if you have long COVID and you go looking for stuff, there's not really that many things that are out there to help people recover from long COVID. There's various different supplements to try to help the body deal with the symptoms, to help the body kind of recover in general. People take things like nattokinase to try to get rid of spike protein, which um, e- seems to work for some people, but if it worked for everybody, right, everybody would just take it and long COVID would go away, right? So a lot of the stuff that's out there that people are taking that are repurposing that were around before long COVID aren't really completely dealing with the problem because they're just being repurposed. And what I'm trying to do is really use the scientific information to design, to custom formulate, custom design things that will really help people.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you do what you do, especially as a scientist and a researcher. And I'm wondering now, because you are so interested in natural approaches, herbal
Mhm.
approaches, etc., how does that affect your standing with the greater medical community, perhaps maybe with other scientists, etc.?
Mhm. That's actually that's a good question. It's something I have worried about. I'm trying to start worrying about it less and less. So and it's kind of a bifurcated response, right? There's the one camp that they take a look at everything and they've seen what I put together and they're like, oh, well, that all makes sense. That's cool to do that. That's that's a good way, that's a good approach. Good for you for taking the step of being proactive and actually having something made and trying to help people now, right? Because most of the people in my job, anything they're working on isn't going to help anybody 10 for at least 10 years. 5 is like the absolute fastest if you're repurposing something and sending it through clinical trials. So I am getting one response is the good for you for actually trying to help people and taking it on yourself and taking the initiative to produce something that you can get in people's hands now. And then the other side is kind of it's a supplement. Supplements don't work. That's a bunch of crap, right? And so it's kind of the two extremes. But I'm kind of from that old school, and I'm not that old, right? I'm 47, but I the way I did my education and my training, it was from that kind of older generation of medicinal chemists where natural products were respected, right? Where natural products were leads for new drugs. And here's an interesting stat I use when I teach. The data is a little old now. It's about 10 years old now, but there was a study put out by the National Cancer Institute in 2014 where they did a study on the impact of natural products on developing drugs as a whole and also specifically oncology drugs. And at that point, if you actually expanded if you looked at all the drugs that were developed that are is a natural product on its own, is a natural product derivative, or where the biological target was found using a natural product and investigating a natural product. If you look at that subset of all the drugs out there, like 75% of the drugs we use today in oncology are either a natural product or were discovered in some way from a natural product. So it's one of those things where it was a very reliable, tried and true method for a long, long time that we've moved away from. In moving away from it, people have lost some respect for it, but that doesn't mean it's actually any less effective than a lot of the other things that we do today.
It's actually more effective, I would say, in the long run, because
Yeah.
because then in the long run, the pharmaceutical um, strength drugs have serious side effects. So it's not better. It's different. Sometimes it's necessary, but in the long run, we really, the word doctor is supposed to mean teacher. The etymology of the word. And so medical doctors should really be teaching people how to live holistic and healthy lives and neither depend on pharmaceutical drugs or even supplements, but to live such optimal lives that we don't need them. Unfortunately, we don't have that kind of, world today where we can get by without anything.
Mhm.
However, as little as possible is really optimal. And that's, I believe the what the job of a medical doctor really should be. not not a not a drug pusher. Anyways, and anyone who says that supplements don't work, it just really is just blinding themselves to existing research and history.
And part of it is a lot of people don't like the fact that supplements are not regulated the same way as pharmaceutical drugs. They typically don't always go through clinical trials, but they're typically far safer than your run-of-the-mill pharmaceutical drugs, right? Because um, basically everything that's in my formulation you can buy separately and take, and it's super safe, right? So what I really did was figure out what you have to take together in combination to actually have a desired effect in long COVID. But um, there is something to be said for worrying about side effect profiles of pharmaceuticals, for worried about the effect on the liver, on the kidneys, how they're metabolized, all of that kind of stuff that we put a lot of time and effort and energy into with pharmaceuticals. But still, there's usually always unforeseen things that happen that you have to worry about, which is why the side effects section on any of the detailed information you're going to look at in a pharmaceutical is always in so long. But and it's not that supplements can't have side effects, sometimes they do, but a lot of them are derived from either things we naturally eat, they're derived from traditional Chinese medicine, or other natural traditional sources that people have been taking for a long time. We just guess there's no double blind placebo controlled clinical trial, but they're pretty much safe and they work.
Absolutely. And I always like to tell the analogy of, if I had a friend over at my house eating dinner and they accidentally dropped their prescription drug, I would be very worried if one of my little
Oh yeah,
children were to find it and take it. That's how dangerous they can be, the side
yeah.
effects. Whereas if, I drop any of my herbal supplements that I take, even a tincture that I have on hand, and it's on the floor and I don't know, and maybe one of my children have access to it, I have no fear. The worst thing that can happen is it'll make them well, it might make them healthier. That's the best thing that can happen.
Right.
The worst thing that can happen is maybe it'll give them diarrhea or
Yeah.
it'll burn their mouth a little bit because it's too spicy or has
Hmm.
a nasty alcohol smell. Our bodies naturally have ways to protect ourselves from things in their natural state or as natural, as close to natural state as possible. Whereas because the pharmaceuticals are so strong and have so much side effects, um, it's a lot scarier. And the fact that pharmaceutical drugs are regulated has not made the pharmaceutical industry better for us. It has not made America healthier. And in fact, the fact that it's regulated and the fact that it's in the hands of politicians and governments and organizations with, three-letter acronyms have actually led to the fact that there's so much corruption. And then we have these quote unquote approved drugs that are have never been properly tested. And then we become the lab rats, the general population. And then when enough of us die from it, then they pull it. That happens so often with regulated drugs. Everything, I believe, everything that the government touches is just more prone to corruption because the fact that it's unregulated means that, the power, the responsibility falls on the consumer to research the brand, research the supplement, research, the herb that they're taking. But when we let the government regulate it, that means that we're entrusting our health and our lives to people whose main whose main motivation is profit, not our health and healing. So I'm very glad that supplements are not regulated, and regulation has not made pharmaceutical drugs safer or more effective for the general population. So let's please keep it that way. I appreciate freedom in all its forms, whether it be freedom of religion, freedom of health, freedom of education, freedom of speech, etc.
And honestly, I'm right there with you. I'm actually really glad you said the freedom part because that's actually exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing. I wanted to create something that would help people right now that they were free to choose to try and see if it helped them. So it had to be accessible, had to be affordable, and obviously, I wouldn't want to put together anything that wasn't based on sound science, right? Which is why I did it the way I did it. And that's why I'll in putting this together, everything I did to kind of research long COVID, research the ingredients to do the custom formulation. I published it all in a Substack, so everybody could go see exactly what I'm talking about, that the references to the scientific literature are there, right? So, but really the reason I decided to do this differently, right? Because this is different than what I've done most of my career was people with long COVID needed help. And I wanted to give them some help that they were free to choose for themselves and not have to rely on a doctor to make a prescription, on big pharma to actually decide there was enough of a profit in it to go actually do some drug discovery and develop a pharmaceutical, which I don't know if they're ever going to do. Because if they don't think they can make enough money on it, they're not gonna take it on.
Absolutely. If they can't make enough money, and part of that means that sometimes if it's effective, but they can't make enough money on it, they
Yeah.
will oftentimes suppress it, and try to get it out of the market.
Because ideally, if somebody were to take my product, when everybody asked me as I was getting ready to put it out, how long do I need to take it? And I said, well, it kind of depends on how it helps you and how long you've had long COVID, how serious your long COVID is. But I basically told people, be prepared to take it for 3 to 6 months. But at the end of the day, if it's actually helping somebody, they should. It's designed for them to stop taking it at some point because once they've cleared all their microclots and their long COVID resolves, they don't need to keep taking it. And that's the way we should be designing things, right?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So your website is Keith C. Ellis, PhD.com.
Mhm.
And I know that on your website, we have a link here to order CircuGuard. It's not going to be released until January of, what is it? I think it's
Actually, no, it's available now.
oh,
It
it
was
is. I'm
released in
sorry, it's
January of last year. Yep. So people can go there. If you scroll down a little bit. Oh, nope, there isn't one. There should be a link there to the I have to add it back on there. There should be a link to the full the company website with the full product information. I'll make sure I update that. That button disappeared on me. I'll double check that.
Okay, so I was thinking we couldn't order it. I'm glad to hear that we can. Is there a different way to get to it?
Yeah, if you can go to CircuGuard.com,
Okay, great.
I think that link must have gotten not updated. That must be.
Okay, no problem. Okay, there we
There you
go.
go.
Oh, that's much
And
better.
you can actually add it right. You can do it right there, or you can go, if you click on full product description, that will also take you to the website. Um, at the bottom of the left-hand column, there you go.
That's the full
And
website.
that's the
Right.
full website. If you scroll down, it's got all the information on the ingredients and what they're supposed to do, and an explanation of what the mechanism is for each of the ingredients in there.
That's excellent. So you've got Dan Shen extract. That's a Chinese herb, right?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Uh,
Mhm.
no,
Do you
go
want to
ahead.
do you want to talk about these ingredients? Let me read the ingredient list off real
Yeah.
quick. It's got the Dangshen extract, 10 to 1. So it's what does that mean, 10 to 1?
It's just that's the concentration of it. So it's a dried extract that is a 10-to-1 extract.
Okay. And it's got organic turmeric root extract, 95% curcumin from the turmeric. It's got white willow extract. It's got organic beetroot extract, black pepper fruit extract, and there's some other, filler ingredients.
Yep.
And
It has the minimum fillers you could get away with putting it in capsules. It's the drying agent and just the capsule themselves. Yep.
okay, awesome. Do you want to talk a little bit? Would you
Sure.
mind about the
No,
ingredients?
no, absolutely. I'd love to talk about them. So, again, this was designed as a natural version of triple anticoagulant therapy. So, triple anticoagulant therapy has, of course, three pharmaceuticals in it. The Pixaban is what's called a factor 10A inhibitor. That's the mechanism of action. The curcumin in the organic turmeric root extract is also a factor 10A inhibitor. Okay, so that's a one-to-one match to that mechanism of action. The second component in triple anticoagulant therapy is low-dose aspirin, which is a COX-1 and COX-2 enzyme inhibitor. The white willow extract is basically a natural version of aspirin, right? It's got salicin in it, which is an active ingredient that's also a COX-1, COX-2 dual inhibitor. So that's another one-to-one. And then the third drug in triple anticoagulant therapy is clopidogrel, which is a P2Y1, P2Y12 receptor inhibitor. The Danshin extract, it has a natural product in it called salvinorin A and B that are both P2Y1 and P2Y12 receptor inhibitors. So each of the natural components is contributing one mechanism of the triple anticoagulant therapy. Now, there's two other things in there. The black pepper fruit extract you often find now in any product that has turmeric in it because it helps with the bioavailability of the turmeric. That's why that's in there. And then the organic beetroot extract was something I kind of threw in really to help people with long COVID. Fatigue is one of the kind of core symptoms of long COVID. Everyone experiences the fatigue. The fatigue is thought to be caused by poor oxygenation of the tissues because red blood cells are being caught up and stick to the microclots. So you're getting less oxygen delivery into the tissues. I added the beetroot extract because the nitrates in the beetroot extract help with oxygen delivery and oxygen perfusion into the tissues, into the muscles. And that actually is an extra ingredient to help give a little boost to fight the fatigue that people with long COVID have.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for
And
walking us through
all of
that.
that, if you scroll down the page, all of that's laid out there as you go through it. And then also, if you go to my Substack, it's all on. There's an article on the Substack for each ingredient as how I found it, how I laid that out, kind of the searches I did to really design the product.
That's awesome. And where do you talk about your cancer work and your antibacterial work or research?
That's kind of I actually don't talk about it with any of this. Um, that you can find that if you scroll down, you can find my LinkedIn profile. And you can see my kind of my academic background on my LinkedIn profile, and that's where you would find more about my oncology or my antibacterial publications. If you scroll down, I think some of them are on there, but I haven't updated this in a little bit. Yeah. So there's just a couple of them. But you can also find those more doing searches on me for the oncology and the antibacterial work.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. This is wonderful. And I'll be sure to check everything out. I know you have a Facebook group as well. What do you do in there?
I haven't been doing as much with that because I've just been busy, but it's a place where people can ask questions and come in, and a lot of people have shared content in there. I'm pretty accessible on my website. There's a link there if people want to email me and reach out to me and ask me questions. I answer emails, so people can email me. They can join the Facebook group. I try to be responsive to people and help people because one of the overarching themes with the long COVID community is they're kind of isolated and they're marginalized, and no one in the medical establishment is helping them, except in rare cases. A lot of people will find a doctor that will actually invest the time and energy to help them. But a lot of times they're shuffled from specialist to specialist, and nobody's looking at them and at what's going on with them holistically. And they're left with more questions than answers, even after seeing all the physicians.
That's often the case with syndromes.
Yeah.
All right. Before we leave, do you have just any closing thoughts that you'd like to share?
People, I think, especially anybody that is suffering from most ill health, but especially long COVID, have to kind of be proactive and help themselves. And part of that is, seeking the attention of the medical establishment and using what's out there. But I would hope people are open to trying new things, especially things that are custom tailored to what's going on with the particular illness they have. And that's why I designed this product, and that's the help that I'm trying to give people.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for reaching out to me and being willing to talk about all of your research. And thank you for doing all that research and for helping a marginalized group there. And for being willing as a scientist in your field to look at the traditions of our past and looking at these herbal remedies that are so safe and powerful for healing. So I'm going to definitely check out all of your links and join your Substack and email list and Facebook group and everything. And please, if you have any new developments and research, I'd love to invite you again to discuss them. So as we wrap up today's episode, I'd just like to remind everyone that healing is not a destination, but it is a journey, and it requires both knowledge and the right tools, such as Dr. Keith's CircuGuard. And while it's an excellent supplement for long COVID recovery, we also have to remember the full holistic approach, which we teach at Arukah, which includes sunlight, nutrition, self-care, all these things which are foundational to our health. And we encourage our audience also to explore the healing possibilities within your own bodies, within our own bodies. So definitely check out Keith's work. And if you're looking to deepen your understanding of holistic health and become a guide for others on their healing journeys, I'd also invite everyone to consider enrolling in the Arukah Holistic Healer Certification Program. At Arukah, we provide comprehensive training to help people integrate science-backed natural healing solutions into your life and business. So you can learn more about that at www.arukah.com, arukah.com. And again, remember also Dr. Keith Ellis's website, keithcellisphd.com. That's KeithCellisphd.com. Shalom, everyone.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashley Algar and I am the host of Expertise TV, and I'm very excited to be introducing you to our guest today, Mayim Vega. Now, Mayim Vega is a former NASA computer scientist turned holistic healer after facing a very personal health crisis, which the modern medical system could not resolve. In 2009, she founded Arukah.com, which offers an holistic healer certification program focusing on 3 pillars: naturopathic herbalism, holistic life coaching, and online business and marketing to empower people to become holistic healers and achieve maximum impact in the world. Mayim combines her scientific background, natural healing methods, and faith in the creator and great physician to guide others on a path to personal and professional well-being. Mayim, it's clear that you are very passionate about the topic of holistic health and particularly helping people who are wanting to transition into this approach. How did you find yourself in this line of work, and why is this work so important to you?
Thank you, Ashley, for taking the time to speak with me. And I'd love to answer that question. So, the way I found myself in this line of work starts with my story of when I transitioned from becoming a computer scientist at the NASA Ames Research Center to becoming an entrepreneur and building my first online business in digital marketing. And the reason why I did that is so that I could stay at home and be with my newly born son at the time. And now I have 7 children of my own, and I always wanted to homeschool them and just be there for them. And so that's why I became an entrepreneur. But my first few years as an entrepreneur was extremely difficult. And I thought it was healthy, but later on, after all my studies, I realized there were a lot of things that I was doing that was not very healthy. They were not very healthy habits that I had. And what ended up happening was I got really sick and I thought I was on my deathbed. And I was rushed to the emergency room. And the doctor actually thought that I had a brain tumor. But after extensive testing and examination, she told me that there was nothing wrong with me. I just, I was experiencing a lot of pain, but they had nothing for me. There was nothing they could do for me. She said that she could give me some really strong painkillers, but that's really it. She couldn't really get rid of the problem. And so I took the painkillers, but again, painkillers and any pharmaceutical drug never address the root cause of illness and disease. And that's exactly why this line of work is so important to me and why I went on my own personal journey to become a holistic healer, to study nutrition, herbalism, holistic health, and holistic life coaching, is because we all know people, and probably even ourselves, who, just like me, went to the modern medical system because that's the expected thing to do. That's a normal thing to do. And, tried to get health and healing that way, but hit a dead end, hit a brick wall, and we either got medications that didn't work or that only worked for a while, or that caused side effects that were so terrible that we had to get on other medications, plural, and maybe even the medication or medications caused side effects that caused other health issues. And sometimes the health issues are worse than the first problem that you originally had. And we're on this ridiculous roller coaster of drug after treatment after procedure, because the modern medical system never addresses the root cause. And medical professionals who have woken up know this. And that's why I have medical professionals in my program, including, doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, medical technicians, etc., who are learning from me, who are, taking the certification program because they realize that our system is broken and we need to fix it. It is our destiny as humanity to overcome all this nonsense, really. We can do better and we will do better. I know it. And that's why, in my certification program, sometimes I joke around. No, it's not really a joke, but I say, I'm empowering not just holistic healers, but holistic warriors. We're in a battle. We're in a battle over our own health and healing to safeguard and protect that, and that of our families and friends and community, of course, as well. And we're also in a battle against very powerful people who, because of profits, like to suppress holistic health and healing truths to keep us just sick enough so that we need something, pharmaceuticals, but not well enough to ever get off them. That is truly the goal of big pharma, of the pharmaceutical industry. It's not true. They don't want to heal us. They don't want to cure us. They want to keep us just sick enough so that we keep giving them our money. And you know what? Me personally, I have better things to spend with my money, like on good food, clean herbs, things that don't cause these ridiculous side effects that we experience with pharmaceutical drugs.
Thank you, Mayim. So that brings me to my next question. What are some of the key benefits of transitioning from the conventional healing approach to a holistic approach in health and healing?
Okay, so that's another really great and important question. The key benefits of transitioning from conventional healing to a holistic approach are, right now, I can think of three main reasons. Number one, the holistic approach is safer. Number two, the holistic approach is more effective. And number three, the holistic approach is the true approach that gets to the root cause. Okay. Now, I'd like to illustrate the first point, the safety of holistic medicine. If someone who was taking some, let's say blood pressure medication or something like that, visited me at my house, let's say I invited them over for dinner, and let's say they had to take some of their medicine and they dropped one of their pills, right, in my dining room or in my living room floor. Now, I have very small children. I have a 4-year-old. And what if my 4-year-old found that pill on the floor and thought it was candy or something like that and put it in her mouth and ate it? What would happen? I would immediately have to call the poison control center to get that pill out of her system, because those pills can have deadly side effects. But what if someone dropped a vitamin C pill or a tincture, and one of my children found it? For the most part, if they found it and took it, they might have a little diarrhea. It might be really spicy on their tongue, and so they would stop taking it. But no, I wouldn't have to control the poison control center, because vitamins and herbs and minerals are extremely, like 1,000 times safer than pharmaceutical drugs. There's a few types of, supplements that you might have to call the poison control center, but for the most part, no, you won't have to do that, because our body knows how to work with those substances. It is not a drug. It is a healing tool. Okay. So completely safe. Also, exercise, diet, those are all safe, right? Sleep, those are all part of holistic health and healing. Completely safe, zero side effects. Now, let's talk about the effectiveness. The holistic approach is more effective. And the reason why we know this is because in my practice, and this is the experience of many holistic healers, when it comes to the conventional ways with the pharmaceutical drugs, as I said before, they don't deal with the root cause. They just mask symptoms. So, you might take a cough suppressant, let's say, for example, but if you are not dealing with the root cause, why are you coughing in the first place? Why do you have allergies? Why do you have the flu, etc.? Why is your immune system not strong enough to overcome this in just a few hours or just a day or two overnight? Why? Because you have not built up your immune system. You haven't boosted it or lived the kind of life that you need to in order to avoid those common illnesses altogether. I have one of my students is a medical doctor, and she said that she used to take anti-allergy drugs every single week because of her allergies. The allergy drugs don't boost your immune system; they just suppress it. They just oppress your allergy symptoms. But when you have allergy symptoms, it's your body talking to you and telling you, hey, I can't deal with this. I can't deal with this thing that you're eating or this environment that you've just stepped into because of my state of being. I'm not strong enough. That's what your immune system is saying to you. But I taught her a really powerful vitamin protocol that actually boosts your immune system so that your immune system is strong enough to overcome allergies. And so that's the difference. It is effective because it is true. It is true holistic health and healing because it strengthens your immune system. It doesn't silence it, like I said before. And the third issue is the root cause. Holistic health and healing deals with the root cause, and the conventional approach of drugs and surgery, etc., does not. That doesn't mean that you sometimes don't need surgery, for example, or in an emergency situation need a drug, but you're not dealing with the root cause. And if you deal with the root cause, you can make your problems either go away or become extremely minimal, safely, effectively, and naturally without poisoning your body and causing the roller coaster of side effects.
Mayim, you have developed an incredible program that you've already mentioned called the Arukah Holistic Healer Certification Program, which you have specifically created for those looking to either transition into the holistic approach or for those who are wanting to grow in their knowledge and practice. Can you talk us through what differentiates this program from other similar programs that are currently out there?
Thank you, Ashley. Yes, the certification program at arukah.com is really, truly incredible. And there's a few things that set it apart, actually, many things, but I'd like to focus on a few. And one of them is that when I designed the program, I designed it for someone who was in my situation many years ago, someone who was a busy mom who had a lot of work to do and, a lot of things on her plate, but still wanted to empower herself with the knowledge of holistic health and healing for herself, for her family, so she could take care of her family, and maybe even build a career where, very specifically, she could stay at home and, just like me, be a stay-at-home mom. And, even a homeschool mom. I've been a homeschool mom. My oldest is 20 now, and I homeschooled him the whole way. And he's already graduated college, and he's got a computer science degree, and he's an entrepreneur himself. I instilled that dream in him. So being able to, I was able to surpass my income at NASA, and still homeschool my children. It's pretty awesome achievement. And so I wanted to empower people in my program to do exactly the same as I've done, to become a holistic healer, to have a successful online business so that they can have time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom, meaning that there's no glass ceiling. No one who you need to get a raise from. You just have to help people. That's how I get paid, is when I help people, right? And so that's what's one of the advantages. Another advantage is it's very hands-on and apprenticeship based. And you could go to a college to study to become a naturopathic doctor, or another holistic professional like a chiropractor. But it's going to take a lot more money, and a lot more time as well. This program can be completed in 1 year, but because all of my students pretty much are busy professionals already, or busy moms, it's self-paced. So if you have a lot of things on your plate, it's okay. It's still going to be there for you. There's not like a time limit. You're not going to, your grade's not going to be lowered because you submit an assignment late or anything like that. It's self-paced. And so I've designed it for the busy mom, or the working woman. And another thing that sets it apart is we have three core pillars in our program. One is that our students study naturopathic herbalism, and that takes up the bulk of our program. And naturopathic herbalism includes studying the foundations of holistic health and healing, identifying toxins and detoxification, also nutrition and orthomolecular nutrition, or megadose vitamin therapy, as well as herbalism, which includes also homeopathy and aromatherapy with essential oils. And also they study Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine. But it's mostly focused on Western medicine, Western herbalism, excuse me. And then the next core pillar, the second one, is holistic life coaching. And the reason why holistic life coaching is part of the program is to incorporate the mind spirit aspect of it, right? If herbs and supplements are the alternative to pharmaceutical drugs, well, holistic life coaching is like the holistic alternative to psychiatry. It deals with the mind and the spirit, and spirit has to be part of it because we are spiritual beings. We're not just physical beings. We're also spiritual beings. Now, a lot of holistic health and healing schools are based on, different religions, New Age, or, other pagan religions. And this program, because I'm Jewish, is based on the Creator. It's based on the Bible and biblical principles, Judeo-Christian principles. And so therefore I have a lot of people who are of that faith persuasion, Jews, Christians, or people who maybe, they don't really identify as Jewish or Christian, but they're open to it, or they grew up in that faith. And they don't necessarily want all the new age spirituality. They want the kind of spirituality that they are comfortable with and used to. That's another thing that sets us apart. And life coaching is all about mindset and how to have healthy relationships with yourself, with others. Of course, also, with food and your body and lifestyle. Holistic life coaching encompasses all of that. And it's a very important part of holistic health and healing, especially because stress is often the root cause of many illnesses, common illnesses, and also chronic diseases. So, that mind and spirit aspect is very important. And the third aspect is online business marketing. And again, the reason why that's important is because, as I told you, I really want my students to thrive and to be able to, have that time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom, which an online business provides. But also because, there's not a lot of jobs for herbalists, or life coaches even. And so we really have to be entrepreneurial. And it's very, very rewarding. And because of my background, with my digital marketing business, my first business, I can really help people in that department.
Thanks so much, Mayim. So I love the power of testimony and hearing people's personal experiences or journeys. Can you share some of the success stories that might be coming to mind or testimonials from past students?
Yes, we certainly have a lot of success stories and testimonials, and we'll show some of those testimonials at the end of our talk today in this video. But uh, I could talk about a few of them that are maybe recent. One of them is one of my students. She told me that she wanted to become a nutritionist, but I guess her life's journey didn't really allow for that. So when she heard about my program, my certification program, when it first launched, she joined, and she really wanted to help her husband, who had been suffering from colitis under the care of doctors for about 20 years, ever since he was in the military. And he was going from medication to medication, and suffering with diarrhea and insomnia and restless legs and indigestion and all these terrible things that colitis can cause. And so I actually created a custom module for her to help her husband with that. And in 2 months, she helped her husband get off the medication and heal from colitis using food and herbs and natural holistic healing methods. So that was a great accomplishment for her. And I get people, contacting me saying that I helped them grow their hair back, or actually someone said, "Oh, you helped save you helped save a little girl's life." Just beautiful, wonderful things like that. You helped me heal my daughter. You helped me grow, regrow my teeth so I don't have pain from cavities anymore. Like just all these wonderful testimonies. And that's the reason why I love doing what I do. And and you will too, if you join the program. It's so rewarding and fulfilling to understand and to know that you are helping people, truly helping people in ways that they can't get in the modern medical system. It's so rewarding.
Incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that, Mayim. I can only imagine the sense of reward when people start applying these principles to their lives and actually see a change and transformation. And for somebody as passionate as you are around this topic, to witness that and to be a part of that, I imagine that the reward is priceless. So another common question that arises is, once someone completes the program, what are some of the practical steps one would take in order to start a successful career in holistic health?
Okay, that's a great question. And that's actually what the third pillar of our program is all about is, what do you do? Practical steps on what you would do to start a successful career in holistic health. And in that program, we teach our students how to create a high ticket transformational health coaching program that really helps people deal with a serious a problem, a serious health issue. And that doesn't mean that it's a deadly problem, but it can be something that really affects their life, right? Even skin disorders can really affect your life, right? Even though it's not necessarily deadly. Weight loss could be something that is dealing with a serious issue. There's so many different types of health coaching programs that one can make, anxiety, depression, hormonal issues, etc. So they build, and it's part of the program. They will do this while they're still in the program, and we'll support them the whole way. Is to build that first high ticket health coaching program, and then set up their online assets such as their website, their social media, a video sales letter, press releases, podcasts, all those things that that online entrepreneurs need in order to connect with people, get their message of health and healing out there, and build and grow and scale their business.
Thank you so much, Mayim. It's been so great talking with you today. But before we close, for those that would like to get started on the journey to becoming an holistic healer and wanting to learn a little bit more about the certification program, how do they go about contacting you?
Yes, it's been wonderful talking to you today as well. And for all those who would like to get started on their journey to become a holistic healer and learn more about the certification program, all they need to do is visit the website, www.arukah.com, ARUKAH.com, and dig into that and schedule a discovery call. And I would love to be your mentor, your health coach, your teacher in guiding you to become a holistic healer, to become the healer of your home and your family and your community, and to help you build a profitable online health coaching business.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Mayim. So there we have it, folks. If you are ready to move forward in your own journey of becoming a holistic healer, then you can visit the website at www.arukah.com, where you can schedule your first discovery call. Thanks so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.